Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today we're going to tie a Seaducer. I'm going to tie this so I can use it for bass fishing, and the Seaducer is a very good saltwater fly. And if you want to tie it for saltwater, I would use a stainless steel hook. But it is also a very good bass fly. And the hook that I have in the vise is this is a Mustad 3366. This is just a all-purpose fly hook. It is a size 1, and you can tie this up to 2/0, from 2 to 2/0. And we're going to start out, we're going to make this weedless. And for our weed guard, this is what I'm going to use. This is called bead lawn, and it is actually a coated wire. And this is pretty stiff. You can use a very stiff monofilament, 20-pound test, 30-pound test, something like that. And then the other materials are simple. We're going to use yellow. These are basically saltwater hackles. These are dyed yellow. And I have 6 of them. And you can see these are skinnier because these were actually skinnier when I plucked them from the skin. But I also ran them under hot water to try to get that curve out of them, so I can have the curve, because the way they were sitting in my bag, they were all curved one direction. And then for the throat, you want a red hackle, and here I have a red schlappen feather, and this is just basically a grizzly dyed red. So we're going to start out, we're going to get a base of thread on the hook, and you don't have to start right at the eye. There's going to be plenty of thread on this, and you don't necessarily have to have the turns touching either. And we're going to bring that thread to the rear, and I'm not going to go, I'm just going to go inside the point of the hook. I'm going to take my weed guard, and I have about 4 inches of it here, and I'm going to secure that. Yeah, we can secure that. You can actually make it a little longer and fold it back if that makes you, if that gives you a better feeling about how it's going to stay on there. But as we're going back, we're going to go back down around the bend, and you want to keep that right in line with the top of your hook. We're going to go about halfway around the bend there, and then I'm going to bring that back up, and you got kind of this red on the back will actually kind of look like it's a bleeding whatever they think it might be, but the red is a nice attractor there, you can see. And we're going to start once again just inside the point of the hook. Now I'm going to put 3 hackles on each side. I'm going to line these up and kind of measure them out. You could have them maybe twice the length of the hook shank. So I'm going to put them about there. Let me widen this out for you. So I'll put them about there. It's about twice the length of the hook shank. You could even make it shorter if you want. This is a bass fly, and you want to, you kind of want to make it a bigger fly. So I'm going to go ahead and give this the crew cut, and I'm getting all 3 of them at the same time here. And you don't really have to worry how nice your crew cut is. If they're not all really short, it's not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and tie these on. So you're going to have them, they're going to be pretty long, or your tie-in point is going to be pretty long. And you want to keep them on, I'm going to keep them on the far side right now. Then I'm going to take, I don't know, there's maybe 10 pieces of crystal flash here. And this is pearl. You can use a yellow crystal flash. You can use pearl. If you want to tie one of these in white, that's fine. That's a more popular. White was the color that was actually in the book. But you could probably tie these in any color that you want. So I'm going to tie them in, and I'm going to tie them in at about the middle, I guess. I'm going to try to keep these on top. I'll take a couple turns and then I can move them to the top there. Then I'm going to take a couple more turns going up, and I'm going to fold them over and lay them down and in there. So, and they are not quite the length of the tail. I'm going to take the other ones, and you can see these are dried out already. And that worked pretty good because now I'll have that split tail when I put them on. It worked out pretty good I just turned the faucet on hot water and got some really hot water on them. So I'm going to measure those up, and I want them the same size as the other. Turn them, pull those hackles up and then cut them. By cutting them in this direction, it helps you to get a clean cut on them. Because a lot of scissors they'll actually push the fibers away. So I'm going to tie this one on this side and make sure I keep it on the side of the hook shank. I pulled the crystal flash a little bit. There, that's good. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap these forward. Once I get them secured, we could go ahead and give them a quicker wrap. Now I'm going to take another of the hackle feathers, and I'm going to get all the fluff out of there. But this is very webby here, and that's fine. And I'm actually going to put them together. I'm going to wind them both at the same time. I didn't give this a crew cut, but I got a lot of stem there. So I don't have the crew cut, but I have that long stem, so basically what I can do is just fold it back and put a few wraps on top of those, and then it's not going to pull out. Go ahead and cut those off. There's my two. I'm going to bring that back right to the tail. And then we'll move this thread forward. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap this. And you can see when you have soft hackles, you kind of have to tease it out to make them, to get them to flare. I gotta put my hackle pliers on there because I don't want them to slip off for me. And this is 2. You can use, depending on the hook size, you might need 3 hackles or even 4. depending on the size of your hackle and the size of your hook. I'm going to wrap this completely. Now I'm going to tie that off, and that last bit you can see they didn't stand up, they actually wrapped around, but that actually adds a little bit of security to it. And then we can remove that excess. Put a couple of wraps of securing there. Now I'm going to take that schlappen feather, or the red saltwater feather. I'm going to tie this in, and I'm going to tie it in by the butt section. I'm going to go ahead and give this the crew cut. And now I'll tie this in. And I'm going to put a base of thread the rest of the way up the shank. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this. I want to make sure that they blend in good, so I'm going to get that, bring it right to the yellow. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put my hackle pliers on this. This is only a single feather. And you can see this feather is not filling it as much as the yellow. So I may have to go ahead and put another one on. I'm just stroking the barbels to the rear as I'm going. And this red is going to be more like a bleeding gill effect. Go ahead and tie this in. You can see the last two wraps there. The hackle pliers had all the fibers. We'll trim that up, and I'm going to put another one on there. We gave that the crew cut, and we're going to tie that in. Clean that up there at that head. And now we can go ahead and wrap this. With schlappen feathers and soft hackles, you could really get all of those hackles to one side very easily, as you can see. I'm planning on doing some bass fishing now that it's getting warmer, and I don't want to bother the trout. Have to wait for cold nights before I go trout fishing. And that's something to think about. If it is getting warm where you're at, you might want to lay off the trout, except in the morning. If there's a cold night, the water temperature will be down at its lowest come morning. And I'm going to just finish that wrap. Push everything back. And of course the hackle got smaller as I got to the tip. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. I'm going to trim off all of those extra. Yep, it broke. I'll just hold them back. Go back on them just a couple. Going to kind of make a little bit of a red nose here. And that is perfectly acceptable. Now I'm going to take that wire, I'm going to put it between the jaws of my vise. You can see there. Just make sure you don't go around the screw or you're locking the vise. Then I can bring this up. I'm actually going to put it through the eye because these are pretty large eyes. And you want it a little bit tight on the hook, but you also want a little bit of space there. I'm going to pinch this back into place. Wrap it, make sure you have it right on the bottom again. Believe me, that's going to hook a bass because I just stuck my finger. Then you can fold this over and wrap on top of that. And once you get it wrapped on top, you can go ahead and remove the excess. This is a wire, so I'm actually using a little pair of wire cutters. And now we're just going to clean up that head. I can see that wire through there. And you could make it with the nose on there, or you can make that feather go right up to the eye and just have a normal size head on it. But this nose on there is not, it's actually a pretty decent thing. Now we're going to take the whip finish. Whip finish, we put the hook over the thread, around the camel hump, come back. Now we have that X right there. Slide that X down to the hook shank and rotate and give it 3 to 5 wraps. 6 maybe. Go ahead and tighten that up. Get that all out of the way. Now this hackle that's all on the front here is going to be a big water pusher, so it's going to make, it's going to push water, and that's what's going to help attract them. Large fly pushing a lot of water. Add to the illusion that it's actually something they could eat. Take some head cement and put a good coat on there since it's wide open. And here we have a bass Seaducer. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. If you'd like to purchase any flies from me, go to etsy.com/shop/theflymanjim. And if you don't see it there, just simply send me a message and tell me what you're looking for, and we'll figure things out. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.